Once upon a time, in the peaceful area of Lagos City, there lived two married couples. The area was quiet, far from the noise of the main city. This couple lived in a rented apartment. Every morning as they wake up, the two wives, Sylvia and Anita, greet each other with warm smiles. Their homes were opposite each other. Sylvia and Anita were best of friends. They've been friends long before they got married. Luckily, they found themselves as neighbors. It seems like destiny had a hand in bringing them together. Anita gave birth to her first child, a beautiful baby girl, and joy filled her home. The little one was cherished by both parents and became the center of their world. As the years went by, they welcomed another baby. This time, a boy. Sylvia, on the other hand, wasn't left out. She gave birth to her first child after Anita delivered her second child. As time passed, the close friendship between Sylvia and Anita grew stronger. Their kids went to school together, came back home together. Sometimes the kids slept over at each other's home. Their mothers, on the other hand, spent lots of time together. They shared stories and dreams together. As years rolled by, Sylvia's husband hit a jackpot in his business. He became extremely wealthy. Anita's husband, on the other hand, suffered a huge loss. This caused a lot of frustration and hardship for their family. The two had once spent hours together sharing stories and dreams. Now, Anita was often preoccupied, juggling the demand of motherhood and managing a growing household. The hardship made her to overly stress herself. She had little time to spend with her friend. This created a huge distance between them. Anita found herself struggling with the feeling of jealousy. It was hard for her to watch Sylvia's life full of joy while she remained stressed. Each time Sylvia offered her some money to help her out, she would accept it. But deep down, she felt insulted and jealous. Each time she saw Sylvia's daughter, well-dressed with fancy clothes, deepened the jealousy in her heart. At first, she tried to push her feelings aside. She knew that she should be happy for her. But the bitterness inside her grew every day. One day, as Anita was resting at her balcony, she saw Sylvia's husband walking down the path with a bag. Curiosity got a better part of her. As she watched him approach the door, he handed the bag to Sylvia. Sylvia was extremely happy. Anita's heart sank as she saw the joy on her friend's face. She opened the gift and it was different types of clothes. They were branded expensive clothes, the kind that Anita had always admired. Anita was filled with jealousy. That evening when her returned home from his workshop, Anita couldn't hold back her feelings any longer. "Why can't you buy me clothes like Sylvia's husband?" she began. Her voice was filled with frustration, but she tried to keep calm. Her husband was pissed off. He looked at her, hissed, and said, "Don't annoy me. Now, please. I had a very stressful day. Bring me my food." With that, he left her there and proceeded into the room to change his clothes. Anita felt a deep wave of anger and embarrassment. She felt alone and frustrated, and now his words made her feel even smaller. One day, Sylvia did her laundry. After that, she spreaded it outside under the hot sun with a feeling of satisfaction. She decided to take her child to the clinic for vaccination. However, as she arrived at the clinic, dark clouds began to gather overhead. Sylvia hoped that the rain would hold off until she returned home. Unfortunately, by the time she left the clinic, the sky had opened up and heavy rain poured down. When Sylvia got home, she was pissed off with the sight she met. The clothes she asked Anita to help her take in were still outside, drenched with water. Her anger boiled over. Without thinking twice, Sylvia marched over to Anita's house and banged on her door. After venting out her anger, she was shocked at the reply she got. "Is it me who told you to spread your clothes outside? You should have known better than to leave them out in the open." "It's not my fault," Anita said flatly, without a hint of remorse. In that moment, a heavy silence hung between them. Sylvia's heart sank as she realized the depth of the change in the relationship. It was clear that Anita no longer cared for her the way she used to. The bond that had once connected them felt broken. Years passed, and the silence between Sylvia and Anita deepened. They both continued to keep their distance. Sylvia's husband continued to thrive in his business. Anita's hatred towards Sylvia increased when she heard that Sylvia's husband was about to build a house of his own. Her heart ached with jealousy. Sylvia had always been a diligent mother. She was always trying her best to instill good habits in her child. One of her frequent reminders was to keep his slippers inside at night. Sylvia didn't like the habit of leaving slippers outside at night because anything could happen to it. It could get stolen at night. It could get soaked with dew. Anita linked up with an old-time friend. They sat together at her balcony gisting. They talked about a lot of things. In the middle of their discussion, Anita mentioned about how sad she was because her husband was suffering a huge loss at his business. Her friend Oge opted for a solution. "There's a prayer house, I know. They help a lot of people in financial breakthrough. You can give it a try." "Oge," Anita's friend advised. "I can go with you," Oge offered. Anita considered this for a moment. The idea felt strange, but she was desperate for a solution. After years of feeling broken and alone, she was willing to try anything that might help her husband's business. "All right," she said. Oge smiled, sensing Anita's willingness to embrace the idea. It was weekend. Time to go visit the prayer house. Anita felt a wave of excitement and anxiety as she and Oge made their way to the prayer house. When they arrived at the prayer house, they joined the ongoing prayers. At the end of the service, they opted for a personal consultation with the pastor. The pastor, an elderly man with a deep set of eyes, welcomed them with a nod and ushered them a seat. After exchanging pleasantry, "So, how may I help you?" he asked. Anita took a deep breath and started telling her story. She lamented on how unhappy she was concerning her husband's business. The pastor listened attentively. When Anita was done narrating, the pastor took a deep breath and said, "Let's pray." As the prayer began, he started prophesying midway the prayer. "I can see a vision. Your friend is the responsible for your husband's losses. His destiny has been swapped with your husband's." The pastor went on and on to prophesy. A deep wave of anger hit Anita upon hearing this. "So Sylvia has been the cause of my distress." After the prayer session ended, Anita asked for a solution. "The only solution is just to swap back the destiny," the pastor said. "How do I do this?" Anita asked. The pastor said, "He'll give you an oil. Just pour it on the slippers of any member of the family." He handed the oil to Anita, his eyes fixed on her. "At midnight, pour this content of this bottle on the slippers of any member of the family." Anita and her friend thanked him and left with the bottle. At 12 midnight that day, Anita came out and did as she was told. The next day, when her husband came back from work, she asked her husband about the day's work. "Stressful as always," he replied. As days rode by, Anita's expectations grew, but nothing happened. Anita kept on with her heinous acts. One day, her plans backfired back at her. It turned out that Sylvia was on her way back from where she went to. "What are you doing?" Sylvia asked in disbelief and shock. Never in her wildest dream did Anita expect to see anyone outside. Anita was speechless. Anita tried to run, but Sylvia held her back and screamed. "Let me go, please," Sylvia begged. As the both of them were struggling, their husbands came out. Anita's husband was shocked and disappointed at his wife. Anita broke down in tears as she narrated her encounter with the pastor and what he said. Anita wept, begging for mercy.